Thank you, Bhargav, for joining us today on PropTech Story Series. It's lovely to have you here, and I'm sure our viewers would love to know more about you as a person as well about your company.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Kritika, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Bhargav, I want to ask, you have built something which is deeply technical, but with a human-centric approach as well. So, I want to understand, Visilean, which you have built, is quite deeply technical, but is having a human-centric approach as well. But I want to understand, before we delve into deeper what Visilean is all about, let our viewers know how your journey started and what made you land up becoming an entrepreneur yourself.
Very, very interesting question. Yeah, thanks. So my own journey, I'm originally from Ahmedabad in Gujarat. I come from a family of civil engineers. So my father is a civil engineer. My uncles, both on my father's and my mother's side, are civil engineers. So I kind of was destined to become one. And the idea was to actually join my father's business, which is why I kind of started my bachelor's in this field. I went to SAPT University in Ahmedabad. And towards that as part of that journey, towards the end, my father is a geotechnical engineer. And as I started to progress in my third and the fourth year, I realized that I also enjoy solving different challenges, more towards ground level problems and things like that. And I thought maybe that field will excite me more. So I switched towards construction management, and I was also taking computing classes on the in parallel.
Right.
So I then decided to go into construction and computing, and that way was the first step towards this journey. I then thought that I want to work for the construction industry. Started working in India first, for a local company called JMC that was based in Ahmedabad. But then I was still curious that what's next, in this field. So decided to pursue my master's in the UK in this area, digital construction. And I'm talking about the early 2000s, so 2001, 2002. So these are very early days even for internet to be around and us leveraging some of those technologies. So I actually found this program on digital construction in UK, one of the UK universities, Salford University, and so decided to pursue that. And then from that point on, my actual journey towards research and building this started.
Right.
So again, worked in the industry and realized that the solutions we had, were not actually solving the problems that people were facing.
Right.
And I thought maybe we need an innovative approach to, bring something new in this field, which is then where my research started, which eventually led me towards the entrepreneurship.
But tell me, as you mentioned, you have worked in the construction industry as well. So I want to understand, what was the major problem that you noticed either on sites or workflows that made you feel that this cannot be overlooked? Because I'm sure everyone, even your colleagues, must be facing such problems. But what made you that this needs to be, solved, this needs to be addressed? And yes, tell us about that.
I think I can give you some examples even, something that has stayed with me for a very long time. I did my trainee internship at Adani Port. It was a flagship construction project back then. I'm talking about 1998, And I realized that we had some amazing design coming in from leading designers. The contractor was also one of the leading contractors. But the challenges on the site, they were absolutely kind of very basic. So one instance that has stayed with me is that despite, all the designs being there, the communication was not so advanced. So we would not have drawings available to us, for example, when we are constructing.
Okay.
And one of the days we were to construct a conveyor belt, and we realized that we don't have the drawings, and one of the engineers then had to draw the entire section with hand. And that incident told me that despite you know, some of the technologies even being there, we need something, you know, we need something for our people on the field, you know, to work more efficiently. And more as I delve deeper, I realized that there are more issues with, you know, how do we communicate what we want to build and how we want to build it, and distribute that information across the entire supply chain. This is where the complexity lies in construction.
So when you're talking about the drawing not being available, I'm quite surprised to hear that. But which is the year we are talking about this?
98.
In 98. So I'm assuming that time there were hardly any such technology present in construction.
That's a very good question again. So this actually was the beginning of the spark that sort of started my whole journey. So because it was a port and half of the port was actually functional, what I could see was that the shipping side, the logistics, they were using satellite technologies to manage their entire logistics. And so they had such sophistication that just 3 people, you know, in the office would be able to manage the entire sort of communication and coordination between what's coming, you know, what ships are sort of carrying, and all of that was being communicated well in advance. So all the logistics that had to be, you know, how do you offload the cargo and all of that is well planned.
Right.
And I thought, but you know, we're actually sitting in the same office. How come we're not leveraging some of these technologies, if you know what I mean? So that's where I actually designed a system back then in 99-2000 to tackle this. So that was my bachelor's thesis project, to actually tackle that sort of communication for the construction side using satellite communication.
So if you remember, in early 2000, we noticed a huge boom coming to PropTech, where we saw companies like Housing, 99, Magic Bricks, creating certain kind of ripple effect in the PropTech ecosystem. But coming from 98, where you must be noticing towards 2000 such noises happening in PropTech, according to you, what was happening in construction technology?
So construction tech was a little bit sort of late to the party, if you will. And we had this major transition. So one of the biggest transitions in construction tech that happened was, you know, when I was a child and my father was sort of a practicing civil engineer, was the transition from paper drawings to AutoCAD, basically CAD design, so computer-aided design and computer-aided sort of technologies. So that changed the momentum, you know, then. And when I then graduated, the momentum, you know, especially the years you're talking about, was then the shift from CAD to building information modeling. And that was kind of the wave that again caught a lot of people, you know, their attention, and it excited them, basically. So that's the early sort of 2000s we're talking about.
So when was Visilean founded? And before the founding year, I want to understand the name. Name is quite interesting. I'm assuming it's vision and lean, right? So we want to understand why the name Visilean and what was the philosophy behind it. I'm sure before coming and launching this company, you must have certain philosophy in picture for it.
Again, a very good question, and a lot of people ask me this. So I'll tell you, the year of we were founded in 2015, but the research behind this started in 2008, 2009. So I joined Professor Koskela. He's a leading name in the world of lean construction. So you mentioned the philosophy behind us, and we're based on this sort of lean construction philosophy. And the idea is to waste minimization and maximization of value. So value towards the customer, towards the end customer. That's the idea. And when I started doing research, I realized that we need to address 2 very specific things. You know, one is the process through which we actually construct. So that's what we were talking about just now. You know, communication, coordination, all of those things which are required for the workers on the field to understand what is going to be built and how rather it is going to be built. You know, and the other question which comes from, you know, BIM and CAD technologies, so design technologies, is the product itself, like what are we building? So the drawing that we just discussed, how do you communicate the product related information to people as well? So you have process on one side and product on the other side. So when I was doing that research, I realized that these 2 need to be synchronized, and lean is the underlying sort of philosophy, the process that gives us kind of a framework on which we can develop such a system. And Visi actually represents visual management. So all of this is a very construction, you can imagine, is a very complex kind of a process, and a lot of stakeholders come together. So we need to simplify things for people. If it's too complex, people are not going to be able to use things. We have people under tremendous time pressure and commitments and so on. So we decided to, how do we simplify it? And this is where this visual management came in. So visual management principles, they try to simplify communication in such a way that you don't even have to use verbal communication, written communication. Just by looking at the information, it makes sense to you. And so there are again such principles coming from Toyota, from Lean, that I saw in action, things like Kanban and end-on, and these are like, very simply put, things like traffic light system. Anywhere in the world you would know what the traffic light system means.
Right.
So we wanted to use similar principles in the system. So that's where the word Visi comes in. Visi is visual management. It simplifies the entire process.
Interesting. So tell our viewers in a very simple term, what is Visilean and what Visilean is actually solving, what kind of problem?
Again, Visilean is a digital construction management platform, a production management platform. So just as I mentioned, we try to simplify this, the communication, collaboration and coordination amongst the entire supply chain in terms of what is being built and how is being built. And these sort of questions, these sort of aspects, how do we, let the site teams sort of engage with this information and relay it back so that the management can also, make sense of what's going on in the site. So we tackle planning, scheduling and execution and control through this, platform. And we let the visualization happen through BIM, through the 3D models,
right?
So that people can easily understand, through that sort of, platform what's happening.
So give us an example. So once the building is being constructed and then Visilean comes into the picture, and if it does, in what stages Visilean is available to which other departments?
Again, a great question. So nowadays we are being used throughout the journey. So design, is actually a part of production itself in the Lean sort of methods. So design and construction, they really need to go hand in hand. A lot of the challenges, they come because sometimes the designers don't have the idea about what how the building will be constructed. So what we try to do is integrate starting from the design, then to construction, all the way to handover of the building. And we connect all the stakeholders together on the same platform. So starting from your designers, your contractors, and in your in the construction sort of side, your all the way from your project directors, project managers, to your field operatives, your site engineers and your foremen. They are all on the same platform. So whatever the top management decides, the schedule and everything is captured. It's then distributed to the site, and they then create their sort of weekly and daily sort of activities and plans on the platform, and then they execute and report back saying, this is what we did, these are the challenges we're facing, we need to be proactive. So basically, rather than in construction we have practically fires happening all the time. Fires meaning we're behind time, somebody forgot to order some material, we're missing a drawing, as I mentioned, we don't have the drawing. So all of these challenges, they come because we are not proactively planning for them. So Visilean as a platform provides a way to proactively plan such information so that you avoid these fires from happening.
So not coming from construction, I still want to dissect it further. So even our viewers can know more in detailed manner. So let me start with design. So I'm assuming the design stakeholders are the architects and the contractors, as you mentioned. Is Visilean integrated? Because what I'm understanding, in Indian market, we are still using all those legacy software, right? Even when it comes to design. So AutoCAD has been done and has been there for long and people are using it. So when building is not made, when design is happening, is Visilean integrated with AutoCAD, or how the design is actually being done in Visilean?
So that's again a great question. So we don't tackle design per se. We of course integrate with design platforms, And you mentioned AutoCAD. So Autodesk, we are a partner with Autodesk. We are integrated, fully integrated with Autodesk Construction Cloud as it happens. So whenever the designers, they're actually, designing the project, whatever the files there may be, whether it's 2D files, drawings, or whether they are BIM files, 3D models, they're available on our system. So they can actually exchange that information on our platform. What we tackle is the actual schedule of that operation, meaning when do you need that drawing to be ready, when they are going to interact with each other. For example, if they're going to do interference checking, clash detection and things like that, what's that plan, what's the schedule there, and how does that schedule integrate with the construction schedule?
Right. So basically centralizing rather than having it in silos, right?
Correct.
So when I'm visioning this, so architect, contractor is there in Visilean, and everyone is able to understand if the architect has finished the design.
Correct.
And is the deadline met, and then it's passed to contractor, right? So when it's passed to contractor to start the building, right, where the material procurements, where you mentioned there are times sourcing has been delayed and then procurement is happening.
Yeah.
All of these process you're telling me is clearly shown in a project tracker analysis. I would put a word to that. Can that be seen in the Visilean?
Absolutely. So project tracking kind of, especially towards the top management, becomes one of the most critical sort of functions. Nowadays, dashboarding, is a way to go. So quite a lot of, large companies, they manage their projects, using these dashboards, be it progress tracking, financial tracking, quality tracking, safety, all of this is, done through that. And Visilean provides then the data that feeds into these dashboards. So absolutely, tracking is a major part of Visilean.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the people who are working during the construction time, right, the laborers and everything, even the site engineers, the project heads and the procurement heads which are going to visit the sites, they are also entering such data into the system of Visilean, where it's mentioned, okay, this procurement has taken place, or this is the deadline of the slab being made, or I need to understand what are the stages where Visilean is able to help the on-site engineers as well, the workers.
Absolutely, I'll walk you through that. So just think about, you mentioned the slab cycle. So all of that's captured in the schedule. So you have a master plan that tells you all your milestones, when the groundwork's supposed to be done, foundations, your superstructure, and so on. Now Visilean will capture that schedule. Either you create it within our platform or you import it from one of the legacy, softwares like Microsoft Project or Primavera, and you then start to develop it further. So this is where the field operatives you mentioned, they come into play. And this is where some of the lean processes also they come into play. So when I mentioned lean, there is a lot of collaborative processes which are actually defined by lean. So all the operatives, who are like site engineers, your foremen, your procurement teams, your quality guys, they come together on weekly basis and say, what's coming next? So you mentioned the slab cycle. What is the next 3 or 4 weeks telling us? And according to that, what do we need? What material do we need? What drawings will we need? What spaces need to be clear? All of those, they are called constraints in our system, or roadblocks, as you can imagine. So if those things were not done, work will stop, basically, if you think about it. So we capture that, we attach that to the plan and say, hey, Mr. ABC need to order this material, otherwise this task will stop, basically. So that information will then go to that person in the app, and they will have to then report back saying, hey, I've ordered this, or the drawing is ready, all of that. That will be tackled through the system. And similarly, once the work is complete, you mentioned who feeds the data. So it's definitely the operatives. They will then say, once the information is captured in the system, it goes to the app, goes to the person, the field engineers. They know exactly what tasks they're supposed to perform on a given day or within a given week. So they will have all that information at hand in the field, and they will report back saying, today, I was supposed to do, 30 cubic meters of concrete, but I could only finish 20. Just sort of as a matter of example. Or I was supposed to do 100 square meters in painting, but I could only do 70, So all of those things they can report back, using the app. So this information then flows all the way to the top and in
Right.
the plan. Similarly, when the work is complete, quality and all of these aspects are very important. So we have checklists available to the workers. So they then report, if the quality is to the mark and not, and it goes through the entire approval process in the system.
So how does Visilean make sure that, because as you said, people will put the data into the mobile application, which I'm assuming. How is Visilean making sure this data which has been entered and put across these stages are being accurately put? Because there are possibilities, there can be, because now everyone is accountable for the particular task they've been given, right?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming there can be possibility they don't want the top management to see I haven't finished or met the deadlines. So how Visilean is making sure that data is accurately put and in the right manner it's been put at the right stage?
So again, a fantastic question. In construction, these sort of challenges, they come to us every single day. Transparency has never been a forte of construction, and people get scared when all of this information is exposed. There are multiple ways to addressing this. First of all, the user friendliness of the interface helps. The field operatives, especially as they use this sort of way of interacting, a lot of the manual effort that they had to do, it gets cut off. So they're attracted to that way of working, more and more. But how do we ensure that, the information is, correct?
Yeah, accurate.
So we have the validation built in. So once let's say the field engineer, reports something, like I just mentioned, he mentions that 70 cubic meters of concrete is done. It goes for checking to the supervisor, and then they have to, approve that this was correct, and all of that process is baked into the platform. So there is validation built in. Same way, when somebody says I've completed a task, you can actually ask them to upload a picture, and it goes through an entire sort of quality approval workflow as well. So all of the information is validated. It's not just that somebody just said this and we believe it. So it can be validated through multiple sort of channels.
So what I've seen over the years, even in India, especially in India, the construction sites and construction projects have been heavily dependent on Excel sheets. And to get them to certain technology software has always been a major pain point. Of course, the top management will agree this is required, this is needed. But when it comes to the main people who are on the sites, who have to be accountable and putting data and everything, for them to shift from Excel to such tech becomes a problem. So I want to understand, what were the challenges in the beginning you faced, because getting them away from Excel sheet, I think we still haven't solved that problem. It's still going on. But when Visilean was founded in 2015, I'm assuming there must have been a lot of challenges, not from the top management, from this middle and the lower management. How did you make a point to solve this particular challenge?
Tremendous challenges.
Yes.
Tremendous challenges. I think the resistance in the beginning, especially as the processes were also not recognized and ready, you can imagine. It was the biggest sort of challenge. So Excel, like you mentioned, still rules the construction world. Everybody is sort of running their projects on Excel. How did we deal with that? So the first thing we did was to educate people about why this system is beneficial. How does it actually tackle waste? Because our first and foremost kind of objective is to reduce waste from the process, both the physical waste as well as the time waste.
Right.
And so once that kind of gets communicated, what's the new process? How do we actually tackle all these things? So that really helped. But the other aspect, the simplification of this information aspect also helped a lot. So we built interfaces within the system that exist now even in Visilean, and they have been sort of much more developed, which mimic Excel. So, we actually realized that we can't take that sort of approach out of the system. But the main challenge is in Excel is that the data consistency is just not there. You cannot, it's not a multi-user kind of an interface. So we had to build something within Visilean which interfaces with the same data but presents that in a spreadsheet format. So it's extremely powerful now, but the data is consistent and accurate across all different views. Whether it's your Gantt chart or your, last planner chart, meaning your weekly, plan or something like that, all of that information is available. And that's how we actually solve. So we just made it very easy and simple to use and people to understand.
So Bhargav, you are mentioning it in a very simple way that it was easily done. I'm sure still there was a challenge, but it is very interesting because I've been hearing from a lot of startups that yes, to shift them from an Excel sheet to the software was a problem because of the awareness, and again, accountability is something people were scared of and everything. But this was quite interesting where you said you had adapted the way Excel sheet was in your software so that habit of putting the information, the habit of seeing the spreadsheet becomes I think easy for a person to not make a huge difference of learning how it can be worked, right? But when that happens, I still want to understand, was still there a challenge for them to, because now you're asking them, of course, they were used to putting manual data in the Excel sheet, but now there's an app, they have to every day log in and put all the data and it has to be accurate and all. But I still feel there must have been a challenge where person would have, I'm not saying intentionally, would have missed logging in the app, because as a psychology, you will be like, end of the day, I'll put that in my Excel, right? But here you're doing it on a real-time basis.
Absolutely.
So what were the challenges that you faced during this time?
Yeah, I think even today we face that challenge. In so many projects, we find that workers, when they have such deadlines, construction, I was actually in a conference and I kept hearing that the timelines are shrinking every day. Projects are becoming more and more complex, more challenging. The volume's increasing. I mean, India is going through a boom right now, you can imagine. And so there is so much pressure on our sort of workers. We have a lot of resistance even today. It's just the sheer sort of time commitment that is required sometimes that people just don't have that, and they will say, how many apps do you want me to tackle, because now everybody is coming up with their own solution. So they say, I don't have time. All these sort of challenges come. So I'll do a bulk entry, for example. I'll update everything at the end of the week, So these sort of things even today they come. Again, the way we try to tackle it is again to simplify it for them as much as possible. The app has been designed for that purpose. There are simple sliders and so on. So if somebody were to follow a discipline, it would take them maximum 10 minutes to provide whatever updates they need to provide during the day. And again, you mentioned Excel, but WhatsApp also rules our projects, as you know. So WhatsApp is one of the biggest sort of widely used communication platforms, and the ease of exchanging that information in WhatsApp is mainly kind of the reason behind that. So we have tried to build something as a communication platform within the app so that they can easily talk through an issue, share a picture, share a voice note, anything like that, and that becomes like your hub for exchanging this information. And lastly, again, to tackle that sort of, how do we proactively tackle this rather than finding out after 1 month that somebody had not sort of input the information? Two ways. One, there are notifications baked into the app that it will ask them to submit this information or provide this information. The second is you can build dashboards where such things can be missed, so you can see that how much information is pending from someone, so that again they can be prompted to take action.
So currently there has been huge buzz around AI, right? And be PropTech or be Contech, everyone has started now coming out by saying that our modules are quite AI proof and AI built so that accuracy is there and more of efficiency is there. So when it comes to AI, how Visilean has integrated AI into their system, and how AI is making Visilean, I would say, more efficient in your experience?
No, actually, again, a very good question. Sort of, like you said, it's a huge buzzword right now. We're also, as we speak, embedding AI into our product, both as a co-pilot sort of point of view, so it sort of helps you on your daily tasks. So like what we were just discussing, somebody going to the app and updating, instead, if they could just talk to the system or tell the system, hey, update all these things for me.
Right.
It will just do it for them. So they don't even have to open the app. You said log in, nothing's required. Just sort of write and it does those things for you. So those are the first initial things we'll sort of release. Secondly, the more intelligent things, as so they come from the generative AI and things like that. it will rely on a lot of data. So we have to basically first sort of make that data in such a way that we can analyze that, we can train AI on that, and then we start to build that into the platform. Because you can imagine that construction is a very sort of serious word in that way that if AI hallucinates and makes a mistake, it can be very catastrophic for us.
True.
So we have to be very careful in how we let that sort of interact with kind of our users.
So tell me, we have spoken how the construction has seen a difference now when startups like yours also are in picture, where the workflow and even the execution part is getting seamlessly done and accountable, not silos anymore is happening, more of centralized system. But I feel still when it comes to India and compared to the global market, the construction technology hasn't evolved yet. The technology hasn't been integrated well in the system yet. So where do you see the hurdle is? Because I understand lack of awareness can be one of it, but there can be a more deeper insight that you can provide us. Where are we still stuck with when it comes to construction technology?
You're completely right. When it comes to silos, they still deeply exist actually in our industry. We're almost at the beginning of this new revolution right now. So whole digitalization that's sort of going on in the industry, people think that we've solved all the problems. Theoretically, yes, but when it comes to the practical implementation, like you mentioned, those silos do exist and we need to cut across them.
Right.
You also mentioned AI. And I think those two actually put together will also play a huge role. So today, one of the biggest challenges that people had was connecting these systems and taking, data from one to another, data interoperability and so on. And again, writing APIs and all of these things were quite expensive tasks.
Right.
Earlier, some orchestration platforms came up to help you do that. But AI is actually now coming in much aggressively there, helping you connect multiple systems with each other and creating that sort of synchronization between different platforms. Because again you mentioned construction's now plagued by a lot of point-based, point-wise solutions.
Right.
There are some platforms out there, but those platforms don't solve all the problems. And quite a lot of startups like ours, they actually solve sort of certain very vertical problems. So then potentially AI can cut across and build these sort of interfaces to take data from one to another.
Right. So I've also noticed, so when we are talking about construction, I'm noticing the way real estate ecosystem is lagging behind compared to the infrastructure companies which are quick into getting the technology adoption. Is it true, first of all? And if it is, where do you feel real estate ecosystem is still stuck and why the construction tools are not being adopted quickly?
I think yes and no. I think both, have evolved in a different way. I think the real estate, you mentioned those platforms like Magic Bricks and so on, they appeared much earlier compared to, infrastructure and so on. So there are many sort of solutions, building automation platforms, security platforms, which are much more advanced in the PropTech sector. So there are many more such solutions which are far more advanced in the real estate sector. Infra has been sort of again naturally driven towards kind of the heavy tech uses. So your surveying, your monitoring, all of these sort of technologies, they are heavily used in infra. So drone technologies, monitoring technologies, but they are now rapidly coming towards real estate as well. So you have certain, 360-degree, camera tracking and such sort of systems also coming into PropTech. Sensor-based, tracking and such. So I think it's sort of both are evolving in sort of different ways and both have different challenges. So potentially, different uses of technologies there.
So let me ask more directly that when it comes to your customers, right?
Yeah.
So which kind of customer in what ecosystem you are facing more problem? Because is it real estate developers or is it infra companies or the brands, the bigger brands as well? And where is the challenge lying in?
I would not, our challenge is not sector specific, it's quite sector agnostic. Our challenges are your previous sort of points, what you just mentioned. Resistance to change, fragmentation, vertical, silos. Process is broken, in all these sort of places. So those challenges are actually persistent across, whether you're in infra or real estate or, industrial construction.
Right.
For us, we have projects ranging, in all different sectors, and we've been quite successful in all of them. Starting from, roads and bridges, so heavy infra projects, to industrial like data centers, aviation, airports, and many real estate projects actually. So it can be applied very successfully in all different sectors. But
Right.
the pertinent question then is like how ready they are, and for this change to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me, when it comes to these sectors which you are catering to, what kind of business model or the revenue model works? Because I'm sure every customer, be in real estate, infra and industrial, will be different, right? In the scale wise, in the model wise. So how does Visilean works in that kind of scenario?
Again, one of the toughest things to crack, I think, pricing in this sort of industry. And because we operate both, in many different sort of regions, so pricing was the biggest sort of challenge to crack for us. When we started, we didn't even have many reference points like, competitors or even similar platforms, but in a different sort of sector. We couldn't take any. So we had to build our own, and we have 2 or 3 different models that we use. One, our original model was always that, a system like this had to be used by everybody, the entire supply chain on a project or through an enterprise. And so we started to provide these unlimited licenses where they are sort of tied to either a project or a company, and they just provide, they just pay a fixed monthly or a quarterly fee. And the unlimited users can kind of then on that project engage with the platform. So that was sort of our original model.
Right.
But as it evolved and we started to engage with medium and smaller size companies as well, plus in terms of competitive pressures started to come in. So we also started to offer project bundling as well as user-based pricing as well. So price is based on number of users that companies will require, and that again based on SaaS. So everything we do is based on SaaS.
So I'm noticing a lot of construction technology companies, especially startups, are coming with this subscription model. Do you feel the subscription model is, I'm sure it has its pros and cons, but is it a very feasible model that can stick in this particular ecosystem? Because as you mentioned rightly, that a lot of competitors have started coming now, right? Everyone is coming with a different kind of solution for the construction ecosystem. So will subscription model will make the edge to the way it is taken forward, or there needs to be a different kind of pricing taking place?
I think so far the subscription model, we use the subscription models as well, and I think they are working quite okay. In some cases, the companies are very sort of, their preference is towards, the legacy type of pricing, which is, one of perpetual license, But given the nature of the modern software, which is constantly evolving, it's very difficult for providers to actually go towards that.
True.
Because you have, your sprint cycles are typically 1.5 to 2 months, where every 2 months new features are coming out.
Right.
And so on a perpetual license model, some of these things just don't work.
True.
So that's where the subscription models really wins.
And the model we are referring is that one-time fee people ask, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, yeah.
So I think that is still not, I feel that is not feasible, as you rightly mentioned, because of the kind of software updates happen. It happens with your basic phone also, right? Every month, every 3-4 months, the update is taking place. But I feel the resistance is still there when it comes to real estate, smaller clients.
Yeah.
Because I've been hearing a lot of panel discussion where even the speakers are saying that if they come up with a one-time fee, that makes sense. Subscription doesn't work in the real estate model at all.
Yeah.
So how much do you agree with this and disagree with this?
No, I can fully understand, the cost pressures. Everyone, faces that in construction. The margins are not always very good. But real estate, however, is a slightly different sort of a game. I actually feel that the focus should more be on value. That
Right.
what value are you deriving, and against that, what kind of money you are actually spending? Because sometimes, we actually engage with a lot of real estate, and I have many friends there, and we sometimes realize that even a simple sort of, let's say, marketing through hoarding and this publicity outside of the project, the cost of that exceeds your
True,
software
true,
cost that
true.
they are actually going to spend, which in turn is saving them tremendous sort of time and resources. And so the value has to be derived through these sort of analogies, in my opinion. Then I think the focus shifts from cost or price to more what are we actually getting out of this. And once that realization sort of comes in, then I
Right.
think the resistance towards pricing, it sort of starts to dissipate.
True. So tell our viewers one maybe client story or brand story that where the Visilean was, of course, integrated and it created a transformation for on-ground execution for that particular client or the brand.
Absolutely. I think one of the most sort of recognized names and the case study that we have is Heathrow Airport. So we started to engage with them, or rather, they started to engage with us almost about 4 years ago, and we actually spoke about the transformation, from spreadsheets to a centralized platform like
Yes.
ours. A lot of their operations, from scheduling to quality control to approvals to permits, everything was being tracked through multiple spreadsheets, and tremendous amount of manual effort required. You would have dedicated people just taking care of these sort of just data input operations and tracking and coordinating information, which
Right.
doesn't really add any value.
True.
You're not really thinking through, how you're
Yeah.
solving problems. You just literally kept, So we transformed all of those processes, and made it completely streamlined across the entire sort of platform. So all terminals across Heathrow for our customer Mace, they actually use our platform to streamline their operations, and since last 4 years that has been sort of going on. It's a published case study, and we actually saved on weekly basis, you can say almost 80% of some of those people who are involved in coordinating
Right.
that. 80% of that effort goes out now.
Interesting. And when it comes to India, do you want to share one case study for our viewers also to know?
Yeah, I mean, look, India, we have many case studies. One of our first engagements was with Tata Project. We actually started engaging them on Pune Metro. And it was a very interesting case study for us because, the challenge was, it's a linear project.
Right.
Tremendous time commitment pressures, time pressures. And tracking it, when the city sort of continues to, operate around it.
True.
So we had to design a lot of processes, new processes, implementation, what we just talked about, resistance and so on, designing new sort of ways of capturing information and, approvals and so on.
Right.
So that became, a big learning point for us as well. And through that, I think a lot of efficiency improvements, that we observed.
So what kind of project was this for the Tata?
Pune Metro.
Metro.
Yeah,
So when you're talking about airports and metro, I understand the whole process is quite different and quite heavy, right? And very
Yeah.
technical, and there are a lot of back and forths going to
Yeah.
happen during, because it's a long-term project, right?
Right.
Even though the timeline can be 4 years, 5 years. But during those process, there are continuous, I think, planning happening. And when it comes to such B airport, there can be issues, compliances, a lot of things of those sort happens, which you don't see in projects, be for a real estate or for a infra kind of a construction going on. Tell me how different it is to take such projects, because I'm very curious to know when I track certain construction tech companies who are taking on tunnels, metro.
Yeah.
I feel those are very heavy, I would say not just a heavy machinery on the on-ground side, but heavy technical, lot of information to be built around it in an online tech kind of software. So,
Yeah.
so how different it is in a simpler terms for our viewers to understand, and how heavy tech is to be built, because people don't understand there is huge data, there's huge planning, and that's where the technology helps for such heavy kind of projects.
You're completely right. Tremendous amount of preparation and planning is required.
Right.
Think about just think about approvals. Amount of approvals that you need in order like work to proceed on a given project of such magnitude will require just like one person, dedicated person, to just sort of tackle.
Yeah.
So people don't appreciate that. I mean, I have a picture, in that sort of case study that we did with Pune Metro, where there is a room full of binders, paper binders, which just tackle this request for inspection after the work gets completed. Thousands and thousands of forms to be filled on daily basis. Imagine that. And that room, if you look at this video, and it's like completely filled with these sort of binders. Tech comes in and replaces all of that, and now starts to automate some of that. Some of you mentioned these heavy infra projects. So it was for us, it was like baptism by fire, because we one of my first pilot projects that we did was in UK on a motorway project. So we started on infra, and we then sort of started to go towards more slightly manageable and simpler projects. So for us, we have always been sort of used to solving these more complex challenges. Yeah. Other sort of examples I can share, we work with a construction company in Norway, and they tackle some of Norway's largest infrastructure projects. So you think of bridges, tunnels, roads, and such infrastructure. And they again are a very forward-thinking company. So they have been working on their processes, some of the most sophisticated processes that we've seen. And they leverage the system to its fullest. Again, it's a published case study with a company called Implenia. And you would see that, like when we were mentioning all these sort of roadblocks, if you remember, like proactively mapping.
Yeah.
That company has, like, in my opinion, one of the most sophisticated ways of like being proactive and making sure that the work does not get interrupted. The flow is seamless by making sure that all these constraints are mapped in time and resolved in time. And that is so critical for any construction project to operate. So, yeah.
Okay. So tell me, such kind of large infra projects face a lot of compliances issues, right? Does it affect when you come into the picture? Does it even affect Visilean during that process?
It does. And again, a very good question to ask there. It's not always easy, in fact, to just sort of say start on one project and get change, realized.
True.
So when I talk about these sort of achievements, you don't see all the failures that sort of happened before that, where you take some processes to the operatives and they reject it, or they're not able to sort of take it in because the processes haven't changed. And when I mentioned Implenia, these are the companies who have worked for years and years getting the processes right. And if you start on a project and you realize that, well, we still have to do a lot of work getting all that sort of process streamlined first, that will require time and energy. And it so happens that, like, you will then start to realize the results, say in 3 months time or 6 months time or 9 months time. It could even be a year. Yeah, so that sort of investment in this is required, which when people see successful case studies, they do not see the sort of effort that was required all the way into sort of achieving that.
No, I agree, and this leads me to a very curious, maybe a very basic question to ask. But coming to Indian projects, right, these heavy infra projects, be metro and airport, government changes pretty soon here.
Oh, yeah.
So when this happens, how does it impact you? Because you must have been onboarded by a certain party or by a certain company, and as we were talking about compliances, the government shift also affect the particular project, right?
Yeah.
We have seen certain metro which were going for 10 years now. When this kind of scenario happens, does it really impact real time for you guys as well?
Oh, a lot. I mean, again, any startup or even any company would be impacted, but a small startup, who's just sort of, coming out of the ground, it's going to impact you in a huge way. So in last few years, I mean, think about all the major things that have happened. You have COVID, you have all the disruptions to the projects. Then you mentioned, governments changing, economic pressures. I mean, Europe is facing some of the economic pressures nowadays, and some of the infrastructure projects we were on have been scrapped completely. And so we can't really do anything about that. So we have to figure out a way to kind of tackle that and figure out, which other markets we can actually operate in to find, revenue elsewhere. But yeah, I mean, some of those disruptions are slightly outside of our control. We cannot really do anything. Neither the people who are actually on the ground, on the site, So everybody is frustrated at that point that nothing can happen on those projects. When it comes to manageable things, where you have weather or things like that, they are slightly more manageable compared to political pressures or economic sort of challenges. Yeah.
So, as you rightly said, of course, when government changes, there are very few things that can be done, right? But I'm interested also to know when policy changes in India. Your GST has been a quite debatable topic in India, right? So they've been always looking forward from all the industries that now what is the announcement, what is the policy going to, or what will be the reform like. When such policies are announced, because it does affect this construction side also, where you get to see if the cement prices have increased or not, and all of these kind of scenarios where the material people assume that it's not going to impact the tech, where I feel it will impact you guys as well. So how do you cope up with such policy reforms?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they probably don't impact us directly. So we don't see much of a direct impact on sort of our operations. But when it comes to the projects, you quite rightly said that they impact the project, the procurement and things like that. And sometimes investors also, they sort of start thinking, should I wait before, taking such decisions? And then projects which were supposed to start, say, in a month's time, now suddenly are taking 3 months' time, 6 months' time. So a lot of those things happen to us, in certain, these sort of larger global events that I was talking about.
Right.
During COVID, after the wars, that we, geopolitical tensions. So then, when the confidence is low, suddenly the projects stop. So those things, they impact us quite a lot.
So during the pandemic, how was the phase for Visilean?
Again, a very complex and interesting question. It had both we had huge challenges in terms of suddenly everything stopped.
Right.
All the projects had to stop for a while. But at the same time, the opportunities, as everybody experienced that, the entire industry realized they cannot continue the way they have been working,
True.
And pandemic suddenly made everybody realize, oh, look, there is all this technology out there that we can leverage. And we don't necessarily have to physically be there to kind of, for the work to continue and so on. And that's where technology like ours, sort of benefited too. So I think we had both kind of the challenges in terms of how do we quickly provide solutions to people so that they can, continue to operate and function. At the same time, new, projects and new customers approaching us saying, how do you help us now?
True. But how did you provide the solutions? Because the constructions had stopped, right?
Yeah.
So during that phase, what exactly Visilean was then looking at?
Yeah, so that's again a very good question. We were actually working on a number of projects, where I still remember this one Irish project where we designed a specific kind of a module for them to track workforce density.
Yeah.
So they had rules in place for the safe distance, there's 2 meter distance that was required between two workers. So you had to make sure that the worker density remains below a certain level for that to sort of be possible.
Right.
So we designed a special kind of an interface for them to track and manage that.
Okay.
And the client gave the approval for the work to continue based on that. And so the work could continue because of that particular arrangement in place. So we were quite proud of that actually, that something like that could be done. And similarly, all of their meetings then would happen now. Earlier they were happening in person.
True.
Now all of that moved to Microsoft Teams or Zoom. And so we were then supporting, all of that through now remote interfaces.
So when it comes to technology, what I always ask is the data being very crucial for the client, right? And now when AI is in the picture, now we are talking more around cybersecurity, which we should have spoken earlier also, because now people are getting aware what all can be data breached via even AI. So when such talks happen, how does Visilean make sure that data is secure of the particular projects of particular clients and data is not leaked? And how you manage to create a safety protocol when it comes to cybersecurity for your clients, for your projects?
Oh, that's a very sort of current topic right now everywhere. Cybersecurity and data, sort of security. So we always had to take this very seriously because of the type of the projects that we engaged with. And security is built into the platform, but also our infrastructure. So we are deployed across multiple sort of large infrastructure, SaaS platforms, and all of those platforms that we used are also certified, they are compliant basically with all sort of different security protocols and so on. And we have to make sure that not just that, but like every customer will have their own sort of set of requirements that we have to adhere to, and we have to make sure that we are compliant to. So that is an ongoing kind of a process for us, because security nowadays, you must realize, is that the scenario changes every day, and you can't just say that, look, just because I am compliant today, that I'll be sort of 6 months down the line compliant again. So we have to look at all of that as sort of we keep building our platform.
So in current Indian market, because now you have exposure and you have been having that exposure of the global market as well, but in the current scenario in India, where do you see construction technology is heading, and how much I would say openness of this industry is there for the tech to be integrated? And in 5 years, I know it's pretty long, but still in 5 years, because you must be interacting and seeing the difference of the projects being done here as well and globally. In 5 years, where do you see India will be standing, especially when it comes to construction technology?
I think we have a tremendous sort of opportunity ahead of us. I think what I've seen, so we actually sort of have been operating in India for quite some time. And, in the initial years, we realized that the readiness is not there. So, the process readiness or the tech readiness was just missing. But in last 3 years, 4 years, the industry has suddenly realized that it has to cope with kind of this gap that, that exists. And I think right now what I see is that there is tremendous hunger for adopting technology, and doing things differently. I think also as new generation starts to come into the workplace, they also demand better sort of tools and processes, and they've learned, the process using these sort of new tools and so on.
True.
So I think they're quite well versed. They're quite, it's now the generation which was born with the sort of the mobile phone in their hands. So they're quite or they're less resistant towards this change. In terms of next sort of coming 5 years, I think, look, at the moment we see a lot of point-based solutions, whether it's the global or the Indian construction industry.
Right.
What I'm seeing is kind of a move towards more collaborations. We're also collaborating with other startups and other, more established players. I see right now AI will play a huge role in shaping these sort of dialogues right now.
Right.
Quite a lot of functions, especially in design, you can now automate actually.
Yes.
Something that would take earlier, say, 3 weeks for somebody,
Right.
is now done in like 5
few minutes. Yeah.
And so a lot of those sort of changes are also sort of being absorbed by the industry. I think the next 5 years we'll see some kind of a consolidation happening in terms of such platforms which connect multiple solutions in one coherent sort of platform. And also AI will start to get embedded, especially at least at this co-pilot level, where it will automate some of these manual tasks that people had to do even on the system.
True.
Yeah.
And I agree, because like in May, RealtyNXT did a India construction demo day, right?
Yeah.
During that particular event, I realized there were so many, and there are plethora of technology, innovations already happening in India. It's just that the awareness is not there. Also, there has been now conversation change, because earlier, if I used to ask people about prop tech, they were fixed with sales and CRM, right? And when you speak to them for construction, they were fixed with ERP and BIM. That is there, and that's construction tech. But the conversation has evolved over the time, and even the kind of solutions that are coming in front of the stakeholders, people are now understanding the need and the hour of change to be done. So do you feel this kind of awareness is still needed? Because as I said, during this platform curation, I realized there were so many which came from different cities from India, and it surprised the developers as well. It surprised other bigger infra brands as well, because they were not aware. And that's where I figured maybe the awareness is not there much. And this is where we as platform can be creating more awareness. But apart from awareness, where do you feel we are still lacking to bring all of this together when it comes to construction tech? Because we are still talking about ERP and BIM, right?
I'll start with awareness first. I think awareness is a huge problem. I think the tech, I just say it this way, that like we never had a challenge in terms of like tech being available. I think there were many different technologies already there.
Right.
Maybe they were not at the same maturity level as it is today, but they were still there and they could actually solve certain problems.
True.
But just the awareness was not there and the readiness was not there. What you said next, like what's the gap? Like how do we, I think education is probably the biggest kind of, requirement here.
We need to start from institutes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I teach, ever since I came back, I teach at SEPT, university. And I realized that like those institutes are the biggest sort of conduits for such, not just tech adoption, but these sort of new processes and efficient sort of ways of working, That's where it has to start. We need more professional bodies to take that ownership.
True.
You are also playing a massive role here in terms of awareness, and bringing both these sort of, industries together. So I think these are the sort of things which are required in order to improve kind of that adoption.
So tell me, when it comes to bigger developers compared to the small contractors, right? The conversation of the digital construction or digital transformation is still, do you feel there's a difference of understanding? Because we are talking about the ground level, of course, it should start from institutes. But I feel still in this industry, when it comes to smaller contractors and bigger developers, the way the optic is looked at, the definition of digital construction is quite different. Do you agree with that?
Yes and no. I agree in a way that the larger players are much more sophisticated in the way that they tackle this problem. They have specific departments even to actually, for digital transformation, for example, they have roles. That does not mean that the smaller players are not taking it seriously or they're not sort of tech savvy. I've seen, again, you have to think about like larger players, there is more bureaucracy. So for the change to penetrate through the masses, it takes much longer time. Whereas the medium-sized players, I would say, or the slightly smaller players, they are much faster in taking these decisions and actually pushing the transformation to the masses.
Okay.
So we have seen that sometimes the sweet spot is there in the middle, where you have sort of a decision maker who's engaged, who has skin in the game and who's engaged with you, and they then say, yes, this is what the process that I want to adopt and this is kind of the technology that I want to adopt. Then kind of the implementation is much faster because both the top and the bottom are kind of aligned with each other.
Right.
Larger organizations have many more tools to play with, they have much more resources, people as well, but it will then take a massive effort for all of that change to percolate down through the departments.
Right. I agree.
So
tell me, how do you manage? Because we have spoken the kind of projects that you have been doing so far. You are managing from the UK to Finland to India projects. How you make sure your team is aligned with the core philosophy that you mentioned in the start across all these geographies as well?
Again, a very, very interesting sort of a question. I think I mean, earlier when the team was smaller, the challenge was much kind of, smaller as well. People were aligned with the philosophy. Now we make an active effort into, communication is key.
True.
Coordination is key. So we use platforms for that ourselves internally, we have built processes around this. So as we started to evolve, all of us came from some kind of a process background and product, development background. So we emphasized on building those processes early, Even though we were smaller, we were driving things through, standardized sort of processes and standardized way of working. In terms of taking people along in the philosophy, I try to engage, with every newcomer, with whichever department they come in, to kind of tell them about our story and why we exist. And what is our goal in terms of, what we try to achieve for our customers, because at the end of the day, that's why we exist, which is kind of how to deliver projects efficiently. And so that's probably, one way to kind of solve that problem.
But I'm sure even the hiring must be interesting, because you're sitting at the intersection of construction and software, right? So how do you make sure the hiring is happening in keeping both the worlds also in consideration when it comes to your particular company?
Yeah, I mean, hiring is a challenge not just for me, but practically for any software founder or any founder actually out there. For us, it's a little bit unique. You're quite right. That we have construction on one side and software on the other side. We have people. We're lucky. We're blessed. I mean, I actually have some superstars in my team. I must say, I'm very very proud of the team that we have, because I'm here because of the team. And we have found them early. We actually work together. We actually all sort of develop together in a way. And they are the guys who understand both sides very well. So some of our tech guys, our software guys, they understand our processes deeply. They've been with us for many years, so they understand what we do and the goal of the service.
Right.
As well as we have an entire team of construction engineers, people with either a bachelor's or majority with a master's degree in construction management, who deeply understand the challenges of the customer and then sort of advise on both the implementation side as well as the product development. Okay. So that's how we try to solve this problem.
So Bhargav, coming back to AI, I want to touch upon one very important thing, that what I'm noticing currently in Indian market, right? There has been a buzz. Everyone's saying we have integrated AI into our system and everything. What I'm noticing when it comes to real estate as well, people have integrated AI for chatbots, for chat conversations, and creating like a 3D models and everything by how AI is able to showcase you the kind of construction that will take place later. But the point is, when I'm asking other leaders as well other projects where these AI has been inbuilt for the communication, for the sales leads, for even showcasing how the particular project will be in coming days or coming years, my question to them has been constantly around, what have you done with that data? So if you have communicated with the customer, you have got all those leads, you are saying my chatbot has replied to it. What is the next stage to that lead that has come in? Along with the salespeople having certain leads converting through AI usage and all. What I'm noticing in real estate PropTech, this is one of the issue. Maybe in construction, what I'm also noticing, a lot of people have said we are automated now. We have created a centralized system. As we were also discussing, Excel sheet has been pushed towards this kind of softwares where a lot of competitors are coming. But my question relies, what happened to all of that data that was done previously for other projects? How those data has been captured by using AI, right? Because the AI usage will make more sense if all those data has been make sense out of it, right?
Yeah.
Rather than just project getting over, that data is also be done and dusted for. So how does AI tackle this, and is Visilean also looking into this kind of, I would say, data?
Yeah. Again, I think a multifaceted question, but I'll start with this data readiness part. I think, look, the industry, construction industry, as we discussed earlier, has been relying on like manual methods of, data manipulation, where data is not validated. You asked about, data validation earlier. We've had, historical data, available but never validated. For example, if you take schedule data, if you take building maintenance data, if you take quality, safety, all of these data sheets, unfortunately, first of all, we don't have a standardized structure. We don't have the ontology to describe this data. That's our first problem. We never had that. When it comes to the process related, of course, the building related, kind of the design related data has had certain amount of structure, which is why they are leapfrogging right now some of the AI applications. When it comes to processes, which I just described, we've never had quality data available or collected, basically, which we can then feed, because a lot of these engines will require feeding of that quality data in order for them to be accurate. The other challenge is that AI can hallucinate. All of these large language models and other sort of AI platforms, the hallucination is also a big issue, which means you cannot completely rely just yet on what AI actually tells you or gives you as an output, which means still you need to manually validate. Somebody needs to check and validate that data. What we are at Visilean doing, so ever since our foundation, our one of the biggest ethos we have, one of the biggest principles we actually follow is combining this top-down information, which has always been sort of there in planning, validating that with the bottom-up, with the ground level data, because that's exactly where the work is being performed. So people then complete that circle.
So how do you validate that?
So through what I just earlier described. So we never had structured validation, loops being completed.
Right.
So earlier what happened was you had a schedule somewhere, prepared in either P6, sometimes even Excel, thrown at the sites, and then the site teams would manually manipulate and just sort of feed whatever, or sometimes just abandon it altogether and rely on pen and paper or whatever other spreadsheets they will create. But those were never synchronized with each other. So again, that loop was never completed. Okay. You had top-down in its own world, and you have bottom-up in its own sort of spreadsheets and pen and papers, and sometimes nothing really. I've had one company who managed their entire projects using WhatsApp and DPRs, daily project reports. They have no other way of managing this.
Okay.
So now with Visilean, we actually connect this loop and validate every single data point. We say, you said that you will install that door on such and such date. When did you actually install that door? How long did it take you? How many challenges did you face along the way? Was it completed, with the quality standards or not? Within safety standards or not? All of that can be done and validated with evidence. And once you have that, once you have that richness of that data, you can then train further you can train models to then start predicting your future projects.
Right.
So that is what kind of the...
So you're saying if you have worked in projects like the metro and airport, and you must have data of those projects as well, and when you work on the next metro or airport project, will that data be important to understand this particular project? Will it help in any way?
Absolutely. I think, look, in terms of sector-wise, sort of, if you look at, then let's just take airports, for example.
Right.
And if you take a single region, then some of those processes are, you can standardize and you can look at it as a template, basically, and say, okay, what can I learn from that? Certain constraints, certain roadblocks that you're gonna face within one particular task, it is very very much possible that the next task will also face a similar sort of a roadblock or a constraint. So you can start to predict such things. Also, when you start to interpolate that data with other factors, say weather factors, sometimes you have holidays, as factors, and you can start to, again get correlation out, and you can start to predict, things in a much better way.
So talking about data validation, correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm assuming like how everyone talks about, and I'll say it in a very simpler term, let's say about ChatGPT, right? It's been said the more you feed certain data to it, or the more you interact with it, and it understands maybe Kritika's personality, language, and it'll give me the information or the way how I want the certain article, because it's copying me, right? It's copying and making it more smarter and sharper. But in the similar terms, if I have to put for our viewers to understand, the more I feed a data to an AI for the airport and for the metro, or even for smaller real estate projects, will the AI be able to understand the pattern which you're mentioning about prediction, but will we be able to say that data is validated? Because I've been feeding that data to that AI and it's creating a scenario and understanding the new project that I have brought in, right? But how accurate that would be?
Yeah, again, I mean, so that last part, how accurate will that be, still is a question at large.
Right.
So even though you have fed all this quality data, it does not always guarantee that the output, like you mentioned, ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever platform will give you is, and they themselves say that, it may hallucinate. And so this is one of the challenges, that you will still need people to validate, the outcome. Still, whatever dashboards you build in terms of forecasting, let's say based on these multi-factor scenarios, you will still need certain kind of validation to be there in for people to apply certain logic that, well, what does this data mean and what is it telling you. So we're not yet completely out of that human sort of
touch,
intelligence and human touch, which is where I think we will still need capacity and skills for that to happen.
Interesting. And right now what we are noticing, and for past few years there has been a certain surge of, and a lot of companies have come in when it comes to data analytics, right? A lot of people are coming with the report, research, every now and then for any current project, any smart city project and all of those sort. When it comes to data and analytics, how much does it help you as a company, Visilean, who is getting involved in different ecosystem, in different sectors? How does data helps you, and how important it is for you for such kind of predictive research reports for your way of getting into certain projects? Does it help in any scenario?
Absolutely. I mean, as they say, data is going to be the currency of the future. We're also learning a lot from what this data tells us, and we just recently published a report on data centers. We work extensively across data centers, and we published a report on what we have learned from this and what certain processes, So we are also constantly redesigning the processes based on which the software is also built, and what the companies should adopt and implement. So the best practices also constantly change based on what the data is telling you.
Right.
And similarly, real estate or any other sector, as we start to learn more and more about that, we can then publish, based on that, what we have so far learned from that. So it does help.
Okay. Does it also help you to understand any kind of loopholes that you can maybe take in consideration for the next project that you take upon? Maybe in the last project it must have been missed or must be not predictive, but now the data is very much clearly showing a loophole was there. How does it help, and does it actually shows up that this was the issue or this was a problem? Because I'm trying to understand, we are making sense of a lot of data, but how are we making sure that sense of data is also implied on the next project? You are being honest that this was my loophole or this was the gap.
This was overlooked or something like that. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, some of that analytics you don't even need AI, for you to help, because simple dashboards will actually give you all the trend analysis and how certain factors affected. For example, the output and the efficiencies, and now we have built for certain customers, multi-project sort of historical dashboards where they can go and interact or with that data, and whether it's cost data or productivity data. You mentioned about loopholes, that's constraints or roadblocks being missed, for example. So all of that information is now not just like with this one project, for last 6 months. You have data over last 5 years across 15 projects, 20 projects, 50 projects, and starts to grow. Then you start to see a pattern that, okay, we did so well on that project. Our slab cycle, for example, was 30 days or 20 days. But on this new project, somebody has planned this slab cycle with 45 days. What's going on? Why are we sort of off the track here? And is there something so unique on this project that it should be so different? Such kind of questions can be asked. So we are also now starting to build this sort of standardization within our platform to tackle such things.
So human error is not predictive, right? So when it comes to every other project, what I'm assuming, fine, as you said, weather can be considered, compliances can be considered. Human error cannot be predictive at all. So how do you factor that particular thing in the next project?
So that is again, we don't have that yet. I'll be very honest. I don't think that anybody, has that yet. Some platforms are emerging where, you have rule-based validation sort of built in, and that's machine learning and AI for you, along with the rule-based validation. But we're now building that into our platform where, such human errors can be highlighted, that hey, I think that there is a potentially a human error here, which is what I was just trying to tell you earlier. So that will sort of guide you as you create your sort of plans and schedules, basically, that well, you have allocated certain amount of days to this activity, but based on your past data, by the way, you may want to reconsider that. Because certain time of the year where you have holidays or the weather going to affect you or something else, so maybe you should refactor that or something like that.
Okay. So in next 5 years, where do you see Visilean growth, and where do you visualize the Visilean to be at, especially when it comes to the Indian ecosystem?
Again, a fantastic kind of position that the country is at. You mentioned India. The opportunity, as we see, India is growing at a very rapid pace, and our honorable Prime Minister has set, certain targets for us to be a developed country and so on. We have some sort of major infrastructure spend coming in. Our real estate industry is also recognizing kind of that there is a huge shortfall. So I think for us, the next 5 years are kind of, we see that India is one of the important sort of markets for us. We will continue to, support, and support this market by, we've just expanded as well. We've hired people in sort of different locations in Delhi, in Bangalore, Hyderabad, and so on. So we see that next 5 years is going to be quite busy here, but also elsewhere. In terms of the sectors, we see that data centers is one of the fastest growing sectors, globally, not just for us, but for any other startups.
Yeah.
So we're quite active there. So I think next 5 years, again, I don't see, because of this AI boom that we are sort of talking about, we don't see any signs of that sort of stopping. In fact, if anything, it's accelerating.
So lastly, I want to ask you, the engineers who are watching this particular podcast, who are aspiring to enter in the construction ecosystem, and even the students who are from the construction as well civil engineers. I've met a lot of startups who are major civil or the mechanical engineer and coming into the construction, because now they're seeing the conversation has changed. There has been some more improvements coming in, and more, not just because of AI, more maturity the market is showing, I would put it like that. So what is your message for these aspiring founders when they enter this particular sector?
I think that you need to be tenacious. This industry requires a lot of patience and persistence,
And a thick skin.
and a thick skin, And I think more than anything else, it's an industry, made out of very sort of grounded people. We need real solutions. So when sort of you go to the ground and they can detect if you are sort of just, not being genuine, you're just sort of coming up with some fluffy, solutions or answers.
Right.
They need simple, grounded solutions that solves their everyday problems. And I think as long as you do that, and I would also add one thing, that as long as you are in a space which is not so crowded, because ever since people have realized that this industry, requires, there is a huge gap that is still true. Somehow we see a lot of solutions being concentrated in just one sector. So for example, reality capture right now is a tremendously crowded sector. Like, there are so many players in reality capture, it's unbelievable. Of course, the industry response has been good, but it will only accommodate a certain amount of players within that. But there are still so many processes which are completely untouched, in the entire ecosystem. And my sort of, advice to this new sort of founders would be that, well, try and look for those gaps where, not a lot of other people are operating.
True. But just adding one more layer to it, I'm sure everyone would be interested to know, lot of the startups and a lot of the people who are coming up with the idea and solutions, they always start with investors thinking if I get the seed funding, or if I get funded, I have a better chance of survival, or I have a better chance to create certain kind of noise. Where is your stance when it comes to this, and what kind of advice would you give to the founders when it comes to funding?
I think it's a very complex question. There is sort of no one size fits all kind of an answer. I think every solution is so unique. I think you need to look at your own potential trajectory there. Because if you think about it, if your solution has the scope to grow very rapidly, then I would say that you take something like a VC type of funding, which requires that kind of a fast growth. But if it is so that you will require more time, so it is much better to kind of initially take maybe angel money or semi bootstrap, take customer money, maybe partner with a potential customer,
Right.
and maybe develop something in sort of collaboration with them, and then scale it up further, and then maybe leverage VC money or some other money. But until you have that clarity, because I've seen a lot of friends go through this sort of a challenge where they can't sustain the growth that is required, and as a result the company cannot sort of continue any further. They go out of runway and things like that. So my suggestion is always to be, again, take only the amount of money that you require, and make sure that you can sort of sustain that through the runway.
It's interesting what you said, because I know I said it was my last question, but I immediately thought of one question which I've been hearing from a lot of founders, and I'm sure you can address that as well. A lot of the startup founders face issue when it comes to scalability, right? So they are trying to figure the solution which the industry needs, but when they provide that solution, the scalability becomes the problem. So how do you tackle that?
Yeah, and this is where I sort of said being tenacious and persistent is required. Because the industry is slow, it's not one of the fastest moving industries. Again, we're very grounded in that. And people still, even though there is a lot of buzz right now about construction tech and prop tech, when it comes to the masses, they're still sort of taking their time in digesting all of this, and how do we go about it? And so as a result, it requires that patience for you to build that sort of your company to that level.
True.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bhargav, for joining today on PropTech Story Series. It was wonderful to have you here, and I'm sure our viewers must have learned a lot, especially the aspiring entrepreneurs, what needs to be done, how it needs to be done, and also about the projects that you have done. It would have given a lot of the leaders also insight where Visilean is at and where Visilean would be in next 5 years.
Thanks a lot, Kritika, for having me here in the studio, and I hope that it was productive and fruitful. Hopefully the viewers will also enjoy this conversation as much as I have.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.